Hello artists and welcome to Painting Level A. Let's get started. In front of me here I have my sketchbook. I'm going to go ahead and get my name put on the top here, and then I'm going to circle painting, and I am at level A. Now I'm going to get my sketchbook set up. I'm going to put a 1, a line, and a 2. Alright, let's see what we're learning today. It says, I can take care of art supplies, and then I can use the right amount of paint. All right, so you're going to need 4 supplies today. You'll need a brush, a paper towel, an egg carton full of paint, and then a water cup. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to pick out a color I like here. Now, tempera paint is already wet, and because it's regular paint, I can't see through it either. I don't need a lot of it. I'm going to go ahead and choose red, and I'm just going to lightly dip my brush in. I didn't go all the way to the bottom, and look, the red's just at the top of the brush. It's not all the way up on the blue. So I'm just going to paint a little shape here, and if I see this part where it got like kind of dry, I'm just going to grab a little bit more paint here. Nope, that was a little much. And I'm going to, there we go. That's better. Now I see that I have lots of paint here, so I'm going to make that shape. And I'm going to hold my brush like a pencil. And I'm going to move the paint around until it's nice and thin. I should not see any globs. Alright, I want a new color, but here's the thing. I cannot dip the red into another color. I need to wash out my brush first. So I'm going to dip my paintbrush at the bottom of the cup. I'm going to touch it to the bottom. And then I'm going to swirl it around. It's going to change the watercolor. And then look, when I see, I see some more red right there. So I'm going to try again. And now I'm going to wipe it on the side to get the extra water off. Now I have to dry it. Now, when I need to dry my brush, because sometimes extra paint comes off like that, but also this paint's already wet. It doesn't need more water. I'm going to grab another color. I'm going to grab blue. Just a little bit on the edge, on the tip of the brush, and now I'm going to paint a new shape. Ooh. I like this color. This is a nice color. It's a lot darker than other paints, like watercolor paints. This paint is opaque, meaning I can't really see through it. I'm going to grab a little bit more, just a tiny bit. When I grab the same color, I don't need to wash out the brush, but when I get a new color, I need to wash it out. Again, touch it to the bottom, swirl it around, wipe it off the side, and dry it off. Now, when I'm drying my brush, I also, it should not be dripping, and it should just feel a little cool, okay? I'm going to grab one more color here. I'm going to grab a little green. Again, just the tip of my brush, just like that. And then again, I'm going to paint another shape. And now I'm going to fill it in. Now, I see I have a glob there, so I'm going to move that glob around to fill in the shape. I'm running out of paint, so I'm going to get just a little bit more. And again, I'm going to paint all the way around. Now, I can move around my hand as well. All right, I'm going to wash out my brush, wipe it off on the side, and dry it off. If my paper towel gets too wet, I might need to go get a new paper towel. Now, step 2, mini art. I'm going to plan and then fill with paint. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to fill up my box with lines, and you could do something different. You don't have to do lines, but I'm just going to do lines in my box today. Little abstract art. I'm not really painting anything in particular. And now that I have that all filled, I'm going to go ahead and start painting with my paintbrush. I'm going to try to stay inside the lines when I paint. I'm going to move that paint around while I'm going. I'm going to hold my paintbrush, and sometimes I need more if I feel like my paintbrush is getting dry. I want to make sure that I'm using my paintbrush like a feather. My paintbrush is a feather. I do not want to push on it. If I push on the paper and I don't treat it like a feather, 1, I'll go outside my lines, but 2, I'll break the brush, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to do another shape that is yellow here and paint inside the lines. Again, being nice and gentle. I want to pretend my paintbrush is a feather. It is a feather. I'm going on the side and moving it around. I can move my whole sketchbook if I need. All right, a little bit of movie magic. All right, I'm grabbing a new color here. I've washed out my brush. And when I go to paint with a new color, I need to be careful when I go next to another color. My yellow's wet. I need to be careful that I don't go inside the yellow. Otherwise, my yellow and orange will mix. Once I have like a little outline, then it's easier to paint inside the lines. Again, painting like a feather. Making sure I'm being careful, grabbing a little bit more when I need. So sometimes that means I have to dip my brush quite a lot, and that's okay. It's better to have not enough paint and have to get more than have too much and make a big globby mess. The most important part of painting this is that you don't want any extra water. You want that color nice and dark. The water will make the paint too thin. It'll make it look not like tempera paint anymore. Movie magic. I'm working on my last shape here. I've made sure I washed my brush out every time I change colors, but when I'm grabbing the same color, I can just keep that color. When I'm drawing my shapes, I want to make sure those shapes are kind of big because it's easier to paint inside. And then I wash out my brush and dry it off. Happy creating!